I just wanted to let you know we'll be announcing the Seller Poll Awards real soon. This will be an annual awards for Amazon and private label sellers around the world. The rules of engagement are, to make this a level playing field, Seller Sessions, myself and Databrill are excluded for being nominated and winning awards. Equally, any consultant, software company or service provider caught begging for votes to create an unfair advantage will be removed and added to the Hall of Shame. The Hall of Shame will be announced along with the other nominations and winners. Visit sellersessions.com/sellerpoll and register your interest. Your community needs you, so make sure your vote counts. Let's get into the show. Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Today we go in depth. In depth is where we go back in time and take a look at what built the person, the trials and tribulations, heartbreak, joy, and what makes them tick as an entrepreneur. Each person gets their own dedicated intro as we celebrate some of their contributions to our community and look at some of the landmarks in their career. As of today, he has many patents. He's a 7-figure seller. He has numerous Kickstarters under his belt. He's a groundbreaker in terms of sharing Amazon trends. He is often copied without attribution. He holds gurus to account in his Facebook group Orange Hack for sharing. He also hosts his own conferences under the same name. He is the head honcho behind River Clean software. When they made him, they split the atom. So raise a glass, raise your hands, raise the roof, put your headphones on, put your phone away, let the family know that you'll be back soon as we go in depth with Ivelin, the man-made machine, Demirov. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's go in depth. Let's start the show here. So talk to me about what your parents instilled in you as a child.
Yeah, so my mother was a teacher, so she was always pushing me for perfection. While my father was into electronics, so he was an inventor and a hacker in a way. He was back in the days. He wanted, he liked to hack like frequencies and stuff on the radio. So I'm like a combination of both of them. And I get a proper education. I was living in a communist country back then, so there was no importance on money back then, but it was all about excellence. So for me, it was all about being the best when I'm doing something. Yeah. So later in the days, I realized that money is actually very important. While for my parents, to these days, money is like evil. They don't like talking about money. They just have enough for living.
Yeah. So you had to break that mindset then. I mean, I come from a poor background and my parents and my family are pretty much the same. It's almost like if you were to have money, it becomes evil and only evil people can have money because they're not nice. And it's a very weird way of looking at the world until you take yourself out of that bubble.
Yeah, for me, money was never important. But at some point, we realized, as you said, that as a communist country, everyone is equal. So a doctor and a waitress have the same salary, which is not right for the effort that you're putting, what you're getting back. So for me, it was, I'm willing to put more work so I can get more out of life.
Yeah, nice, fair enough.
And this wasn't possible, so that's why I actually left the country.
So that's what you did. So once you'd left the country, you were able to express yourself more and, think more freely about stuff without being judged.
Yeah. So the communist was, long over, but it's still the mentality, especially in the older population, it's still there. So it's limited, right? Also, we had a very big limitation on money transfer, credit cards, and so on back in the days. And I started my first e-commerce in 2000, and I was trying to accept payments on my website, and it was very difficult. So I left the country so I can try to get like a citizenship somewhere else, so I can get, basically I left for the credit card. That's what the first thing in my mind was, I need to run that business somehow. So I need an established bank system, credit cards, all this stuff that makes possible to have an online store.
Yeah. And this is around 2000. Because I was going to say, what was your earliest entrepreneurial memory or your first entrepreneurial job? So we're going back to early 2000s now. So we've got, what, 19 years ago. So would you say that was the first steps for you, is obviously getting out of where you were, you know, because the limitations of working online? And was that your like first business?
That was actually my second business. So my first business was a typing tutorial that I've done on a CD, and I was selling in libraries and little stores in my town. And then I went. I was interested in online, stuff. But I always, from my father, he was independent back in the days. Even during the communism, he was working for himself a lot. And he didn't like to have a boss. So I got that from him very early in the early age. But yeah, my first business probably was that online business, was that in the 2000s.
Yeah. And was that a success for you? I mean, that was your first foray into business. Did you exit the business, or did you close it down and start a new one? What was your feelings in and around that business itself?
That was a complete failure back then. So nothing happened with that business. I had no idea what I'm doing. I just had that desire to have something on my own. So I was working really hard. I was like working day and night on that business, and eventually failed because I didn't have the experience running anything like that. I didn't have any help. I didn't have anyone to ask what should I do next. I was just going by intuition and just working, putting content, and of course nobody can see me, so I couldn't get the traffic and stuff. So
yeah, what would you say were your biggest learnings from that business?
Biggest learning.
So you mentioned that it failed, but you worked very, very hard, and it in the end, it's like you lacked that experience. If you had a mentor or someone you could communicate or share those experiences with, may have given you a different angle on it, and maybe it would have been successful. But what would you have said is that what did you take from the learnings of that failure and put into your next business?
From that experience particularly, I think it's that a business is not dependent only on the quality of the work, but there are many other variables that are in place. Like, for example, in this case, it was visibility. People have to see you first, see your work, and then they'll be able to appreciate that work. If nobody sees you, So I was practically just putting content on the website, but no one was able to see it.
Yeah, you were building it, but no one came. So you know what they say, build it and they will come, was the old adage, wasn't it? But obviously with no visibility, that's not going to be possible. So talk to me about the second business you built. So obviously this was online, you had the restrictions. Walk me through that.
So actually the first business that I started, which was the typing tutorial on the CD, this was running all the time. This is actually probably, now when I think about it, this was the business that kept all other of my attempts possible. So this was still running. Still, I didn't have any idea what I'm doing, but it was selling. Right, I was still selling it. I had orders all the time, and of course, I wanted to expand. I wanted to do more business. And now I realize that if it wasn't for that business to succeed, there are chances that I'll probably give up on some of the other businesses. Right, probably too early because of lack of money, and sometimes you get depressed on the failure that you're getting. But this business was still running, and actually it ran until like probably 5 years ago. It was running all these years without me doing anything about it. I left the country. I left the business to my brother with another partner, and they were continuing selling this stuff. And I completely even lost track of it. I went to other ventures and I totally forget about it. But it was still running for many years. So yeah, so that was the reason. A lot of people try online business and then they fail and then they give up. But I had this chance to have like my first business was actually a success. It wasn't a huge success, but it was selling something that gave me the feeling of success. Something that told me, okay, that's possible. Actually, this is working.
Yeah.
So I just need to replicate it one more time.
Exactly. And I think what happens is you find I've had many, what I'd say, mini failures in terms of businesses that I've tried, but I'm always trying new ideas because the way I see them is their experiment. And if they don't work, you just park them and then you just back the winners. It seems like for me, listening to you here, is that you have a similar thing where you had that long going business that was running, but you're always looking to build others as well that may be more profitable or more beneficial, which has got like longer term value in there.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me about a business book that's influenced your life and why.
Business books.
Yes.
I actually had a physical mentor, so I didn't had my biggest influence came from my father and from a partner of his that took me under his wing, because I'm not one of these stories where people came from no background, no education, no college or anything, and then they become successful. I had the mentorship, I had the living example, and I had a proper education, right? So probably the biggest influence in my life is not coming from a book. I read many books after, but they all just confirmed what I learned early in my age, when I was a kid.
So give me some examples of, what are standout things where the mentor and your father played a role, what kind of advice and values and stuff that they instilled in you?
The most important thing is to be different, to offer more value for the money. Mm-hmm. So in my country, in Bulgaria, you had to be creative. So you can't put a lot of money into something because you don't have them.
Yeah.
So it's all about creativity, bringing more value to the customer without spending more money. Mm-hmm. In other words, you have to deliver something that in the eye of the buyer is amazing without you losing money. Actually, you're still profitable while bringing much more to the product. So that's the first thing, is being different, giving more for the money. And the second more important probably is that you should just change the way you're thinking about stuff. You have to look for a different angle.
Yeah, so think differently. So to give an example there, what you're saying is that, that some people put a product on Amazon and they want to do a premium product at a premium price. What you're saying is, can you make a premium product that's far superior, but for a fair price, which is in line with the average price of the products on the page, as an example? So people get more value for money for the same amount.
That's exactly. So the feeling that you get from a premium product, you can actually achieve it without spending much money.
Yeah, so you're getting creative. On the budget.
Lower the price.
Yeah.
That, and have less expense on the creation.
Cool. Do you, on a daily basis, everyone has certain habits and stuff. What are the most important habits that you do on a daily basis?
The most important is realizing problems that people have. And so every day, my father will make me write on a poster on the wall that we had like a calendar. So every day I had to write down one problem that I noticed during my day. I was going to work or whatever you're doing, you encounter problems. So when developing the awareness was the most important skill that I had to develop is, and especially noticing problems, because when you have a problem, then you can turn that into an idea and eventually a product.
Exactly. I was going to say that, what you mentioned about education earlier on, people have different approaches on education. Mine is, and it's probably wrong to say this, that I don't put education in the traditional system high on my agenda. So when I say to people, is education important? Yeah, some of it is, but problem solving is more important. If I had my way, I'd change the school system so that instead of people trying to get a good education to get a better job, is from a young age is to solve problems. Because if you solve problems, it becomes more self-sustainable. And a lot of the job creation out there are based on smaller entrepreneurs with smaller companies. That seems to make up a lot of the numbers across the globe.
Yeah, absolutely. I see a lot of young entrepreneurs, and they ask me that question, what is the most important skill that I have to develop? And this is the first thing I tell them, is that you need to develop your awareness about problems. Because once you do that, and it only takes like a month or two to develop that habit, and then you start seeing problems all around you in a positive way, right? And then you have to think about how to turn them into a problem. So once you have a problem, you're actually making someone else happy, because many people are having the same problem as you. And this is, in my opinion, is purpose of life. It's helping others and makes someone else's life easier.
Yeah.
And if you do that, you can benefit from everything else.
Indeed. Without a doubt. So talk to me about your health. I mean, being a programmer, running around doing so many different things, maybe late night coding, early morning coding, I'm not sure. But do you put health front and center? Do you exercise? Do you do yoga? Do you eat healthy and stuff like that, part of your daily habits?
Yes, I do, actually. My father was actually a yogi back in the days, so he introduced me to yoga, but he was like very advanced, not something that you see now in the modern days. People just doing exercises. He was really deep into breathing and cleaning and all this stuff, that are seen hardcore these days, I was introduced to yoga very early. And my mother was always pushing me to do sports. I started sports when I was 5 years old. I was doing, ski and every kind of sport that you can imagine. I tried it,
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of sports until I actually came to Canada. I was always active, and to these days, I'm still continuing doing a little exercises every single day.
All right. So what do you do? Weights, or what kind of things are you doing on a daily basis?
I'm doing the regular stuff like push-ups and chin-ups, lightweight exercises. Also paying a lot of attention to the health. I realized that the way we eat influences the way we feel and think.
Yeah.
Influences your creativity, your energy, your positivity, everything. Yeah. Whatever you put in your mouth actually affects the brain.
Yeah. You've got the gut-brain axis, haven't you? So.
Yeah, for 4 years, I was gluten-free. 4 years and never ate any bread, anything that contains gluten, any cereal, actually, at all.
Yeah.
And one day, actually, my daughter was born, and she was like eating pizza and stuff, and she wanted to try pizza. So I was like, okay, no, I'm gonna have a little pizza with my kids, you know.
Yeah.
From there, I started eating gluten again, and because I don't like to restrict my kids at that age, right?
Of course. Yeah.
And I felt it instantly. As soon as I started eating gluten, my brain was foggy. I couldn't think the way I'm thinking before. I've done 9 Kickstarters in 2 years. So that's a lot of work. You know, wow. That's a lot of creativity putting into, creating all the stuff, campaigning, because I was full of ideas all the time, right? As soon as you start eating sugar and gluten, your brain shuts down. Like creativity shuts down. And once you're, if you've been on a diet like for a long period of time, you can feel it very, very strongly, how it affects your brain. If you're raised like eating these foods, you will never know that actually you have that it has that effect on you.
So do you eat like keto or any specialized diet now? Obviously you've cut gluten.
Yeah, I'm a believer that people shouldn't eat dairy products, so I never eat any dairy products. Mm-hmm. I eat very, very little meat. And I believe that we're fat-eating animals. So my main diet is actually vegetables and fat.
Okay. What, like coconut oil and ghee and stuff like that is where you get your fats from?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. What would you say is, as a high performer, what would you say is your biggest weakness?
It's still to these days, it's wasting time. I'm trying for many years to perform better, and I still find myself easily distracted from different stuff. And then I have to put back myself into frames to focus on what's important. And I have this habit of asking myself, is this the best way of doing it? And I still find myself that I'm not using the best way. So distraction is probably the biggest problem that I have. Yeah.
Yeah. And as a developer, you need to be in the flow state, don't you, for programming? And once you come out of flow, you might take you 20, 30 minutes to get back in, and it kind of, you could lose a morning for it, if you like.
So how I go around this is I work on multiple projects because I realize that my problem is working too long on the same product or project, right? So I can work like an hour on one project and then go to another one, and this cuts down the distraction on working on one task. Yeah. And then I can go back to to the first one or go to a third one, for example. Mm-hmm.
Do you use any software to block yourself from going on social media, or do you keep a time clock so that when you're working on projects that you go into deep mode, programming, etc., and then obviously alarm goes off and then you switch projects, or do you just leave it quite open?
No, I don't. I'm trying to do everything inside my brain, like develop the habit and train my brain to focus on what I'm doing and doing it in a specific way. I'm asking a lot of questions myself. Like you can see even questions that I ask myself on my wall. Because if you ask yourself some simple questions all the time, it actually improves your performance. You just need to go back to what's essential. I think it's a natural behavior of the brain to wander, to go to different directions. And some people have the ability to stay focused longer on one task than others. And I believe this is what makes them successful.
Yeah. But do you also believe, because you're so creative as a person, do you need to float from time to time? You can't just go into these regimented boxes. Where your creativity comes from is where you allow yourself to be distracted and daydream a little bit to capture that idea and then obviously come back into flow.
It is. I work with a lot of programmers, and it's very rare that you can see a programmer that is creative at the same time.
Right.
And I was born creative, but I was trying to make myself a programmer.
Right.
In a way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a difficult task to change your brain from one state to the other.
Yeah.
But it's necessary. You have to be structured and logical, and at the same time being creative. So you have to probably split the day in two and allow yourself. That's why I work till 3 o'clock. I start early in the morning, like right now it's 6 in the morning, right?
Yeah.
And 3 o'clock I'm done. I'm not working on any of my businesses anymore. So the rest of the day I can just be creative. If I have an idea or something, I can draw a sketch late in the day, and then I'll execute the work that needs to be done in the morning.
Yeah. I take it your morning time is your sanctuary. That's when you're the freshest you can be.
Yeah. More organized, more focused.
Yeah. That makes sense. Talk to me about what's been your greatest setback and how you come back from that adversity.
Well, I had a period of time when every single endeavor that I started failed for some reason. And I couldn't understand why everything is failing. I had the idea in my head that I was doing something right. I'm putting a lot of work, I'm not a lazy person. I'm doing, a lot of hours in my day, but everything was failing. Whatever I do was failing. It went, many years had to pass to realize that actually the problem is in my thinking. It's something that surrounds me. I was trying to blame events around me, while it was my thinking that was failing. So I started working on that behavior, that I have to think positively about things. You should never allow yourself think that you're not capable or you're not lucky or any of that. As soon as you start thinking that you're not something, you become that person.
Yeah. So you're a big believer in energies, in the sense that you go on a barren run. So you go in these cycles, and momentum plays a really important part. So you might go through this long period of where it's not working, but it's just about working through that process. And then when it works, the cycle switches. So you get momentum, and then everything starts to come together, and then you have a good run that way. Do you think like that in terms of cycles?
I think not in terms of cycles, but I believe that everything that you do somehow comes back to you. It accumulates and affects you in a way. So if you have a period of time when you're negative and you don't have that good feeling about life and stuff in you, it somehow comes back to you and it hits you in another way, like in events even.
Yeah.
In the life. So I never allow myself anymore having negativity about something, When something negative happens, I just ignore it or try to turn it into a positive, event.
Yeah, that makes sense. In terms of what is the most common advice you give to people? Just general advice.
Just general advice is, first of all, is never to give up what you're doing. And the second thing is find another angle. Because people who fail, they don't think about why they fail. They just keep trying, but they just need to find the angle. That's the problem that they have. At least that's what I have always. It's not approaching problems from the right angle. So if I keep reminding myself, what is the other way of doing this? if I keep reminding that question to myself, eventually I find the right angle to solving the problem.
Yeah, totally agree. In terms of advice, what people should ignore?
What people should ignore is negative people around them, because I find this kind of contagious. As soon as you surround yourself with negative people, somehow you try to copy them and you start talking like them negatively, right? And you have to put the work, Some people are more productive than others. If you find yourself that you're not very productive, you have to put more hours. Yeah. Even if you have to, if you need breaks in between, you need the hours of work every day.
That makes sense. In terms of, we've covered the commerce beginnings of your life. Talk to me about Amazon. When did you, obviously you knew Amazon's been around for years, but when did you actually discover Amazon FBA as an opportunity as a business?
So I was selling books at the beginning on Amazon. That was around 2010. And then people start talking more and more. So Amazon started introducing physical products. People started to talk about FBA. So it was all around the AMS, the first one that it came.
The Amazing Selling Machine, yeah?
Exactly. And this is where I started, thinking more about FBA.
And so did you invest in one of those courses, or did you, just because of the popularity around the course, that's what got you interested?
Actually, I didn't invest any money because I was already aware about that. I just need a little more action to take. That was all about it. Sometimes you just need a hint, to unlock what's behind it. So I didn't need any more information. I knew already the process. All you need in this stage of life is just a hint from somewhere to come, and then you continue doing what you're doing, and you can even do it in another way, your way, for example.
Makes sense. In terms of getting started, how much did you invest capital-wise into your Amazon business?
You mean for the first business?
Yeah, your first FBA. I know you sold books, but before, talking about your first product launch, where did how much cash did you put into the business for that?
That's a funny story because actually the first investment was probably like $200.
Excellent. Talk me through that original concept or idea and what happened around that time.
So the product was actually around 11 cents to manufacture because it was a custom design product. It's all my products, I'm trying to get creative and do stuff that doesn't exist on the market, or a little different from the others. So it was a printed product, essentially. So it was very inexpensive to make, but because of the design on the print, it was completely new on the market. So it was very inexpensive to make. It was free to import because it was a printed, so everything that is printed like on paper, it has no duty-free fee, right? When you import it to Canada or United States. So I was able to import it to US for around $25, the first package, and it cost me $250 to manufacture. I don't remember what was the shipping price, but it wasn't very much. And this product was selling for $19 a piece. So you can imagine the margin. I was ecstatic when I've seen the profits from that product. So this got me excited. Created multiple of these products in different niches. Since then, it's already died. I'm not even selling that product anymore. But to people who ask, how much money do I need to start? To these days, there's still many opportunities like that. There are media that you can use that's like printed stuff, like notebooks or something, a notebook has the same page all over inside, still paper. So anything that is paper printed has no customs when it's imported, because it's considered like, I don't know what is the term, but it's like a book. It's inexpensive to make, and just because of the content, it can sell for good money. So it's still possible to start with, let's say, like $1,000. You can make 1,000 units, for example, on something, have a unique design about it. So the main work you have to put in that is in creativity and solving someone else's problem.
Yeah.
And this is what is the value of the product. It's not the material of the product.
So that's what every product that you put out is, that, like you said, since you was a child, with the influence of your parents, is to solve a problem. So you wouldn't go into a market and just select any product because you like the look at it, or it's a shiny object syndrome. Everything you take is you redevelop them and improve on that product based on the problem solving at hand.
Exactly. Yeah. I believe that instead of trying to sell like fashion to people, if you sell something that solves a problem, first of all, it sells easily. Sometimes it's urgent. People are willing to spend the money now. They don't need to think about it. So it's easy to sell, right? And then also you have a purpose in life. You're helping someone. It's not just reselling product for the money, still doing something good about the humanity, let's say. Not like easy, but it's a purpose.
Exactly. So would you say any of your products are consumables as well? Not only does it solve problems, that people come back for more.
Yeah, I have many of these also.
So
they still solve a problem though.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it's hard to get everything into that quadrant, the 4-part quadrant. It solves a problem, it does this, it does that, and it's consumable, so you can get repeat orders from it. So that's good that you can solve a problem, because obviously with repeat customers, that ends up reducing a lot of your marketing costs overall, and that's on and off Amazon. So do you sell your products off of Amazon as well?
I'm actually selling in retail and other marketplaces.
Cool. Do you want to talk me through that? Talk to me about, so you don't have to give away the products, but give us an idea of what you're doing in terms of retail, your own website and stuff.
So because of my products are niche all the time, there are multiple of these stores that people know about locally that are very niche about, they don't sell like common goods, So I sell a lot of my products to these stores, and profits are probably a little bit lower, because these retails, they take from 50 to 60%, while Amazon is about 30-35, let's say, right? But still, there are so many of these stores around the world that I'm actually some of my products sell very well on little stores like that. Instead, they don't sell very well on Amazon because of the limited searches that they get. So if you look at the keywords, for example, the search volume of these keywords on Amazon, it's very low, but still they sell very good on the store.
Yeah. Because we know Amazon is a supply and demand marketplace, isn't it? Whereas with the stores, like you said, if they're in a niche, people are going to walk up and buy through discovery in there.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's my first thing is I get a lot of people when they see it somewhere, and not people, but I mean like retailers, when they see the product, they're interested having it in their stores. So I'm getting constant orders from these little stores that give me a lot of business, and from many countries in the world, just because of the nature of the product, the way that it looks and the way that it works, which is not possible actually on Amazon. It's kind of a lot of these products are kind of when people see them, then they realize that they need them. But it's a lot of times it's hard to describe, so people don't search for them.
So what, in terms of, if we were to put it together, like if I was to ask the question, how do you source your products? Well, it seems like you make them. Walk me through your creative process. Is it a bit like Walt Disney? Disney had a room for each of the stages, creativity, and in business. You mentioned earlier on program, left and right brain stuff, programming in the morning, finish at 3 p.m, creativity afternoon, and you're sketching and stuff. Walk me through your flow there in terms of how you get ideas together for problem solving and a product that others that listen to the show can take away and try and implement. Because you said it was like creating it as a habit, and after a couple of months, it becomes part of your habit to look to solve problems.
So everything that you're doing, you encounter problems. So obviously, if you do more stuff in your day, you will meet more problems. So this is what I'm trying to do, is trying to do more stuff in a day so that I can get more problems. But right now, to be honest, I'm not even looking for more problems. I have enough. And naturally, sometimes I just discover, just because of my awareness, I can discover some new ideas and then research the market and implement it. But because I'm selling multiple products already, I understand the niche, and sometimes I develop products around that niche that complement my main product, for example. But early in the day when I was starting with my ideas, I was trying to get into problems. So anything from repairing something in your home or something, so working on something like using tools, whatever, you always have problems. Then people usually, they encounter that same problem and just avoid it, and then the next day they have the same problem. Instead, I'm thinking, how can I solve that in a different way? And once I have a problem, then I start researching the market and see how other people are solving it, and then I'm trying to find another better way of solving that same problem. So that's the routine, and then from there you just go develop prototype, and then put the prototype in practice, share with many people, see what is their feedback about it, go back to the drawing table, improve it, and then go for manufacturing. And
so do you get like 3D imagery work done just to get something mocked up, or do you do all this stuff yourself in-house?
Yeah, so we do 3D printing, prototyping, depends what it is, CNC machining products, and then we try to get feedback from many people from many different backgrounds that have the same problem, so that we can improve the product so that it works in many different scenarios.
Yeah. So is that family or friends, or do you literally go out into the marketplace, a coffee shop, and go, will you try this for me just quickly? I just want to get your feedback on it. Do you go kind of out on the street to the everyday person, or do you use channels where you can get, there used to be Feedback Army and places like that where you can get loads of comments on your website. How do you galvanize that feedback and structure it?
I go and look for communities that are established. So that's my first actually criteria is there like a large community around that product or problem? And if there's one, I'm actually going going for that product. If there is not a large community, I'm probably not be able to sell that product. And I go look for these communities, and then I approach them with my solution, and then I get feedback from them.
Makes sense. So tell me about a product failure that you've had and what you learned from it. You mentioned that low search volume. Have you ever had somewhere, one, they didn't work on Amazon and they didn't take off in the stores as well?
What is that, failure, you said?
Yeah, product failure. If you had a product that you developed and it's failed, like before it got out, I know that you've had cycles of a product and stopped selling them after a period of time. But if you had a product where you put it out on Amazon, but the search volume's so low it didn't make a dent on Amazon, and when you tried to put it into retail, it didn't work there either.
Oh yeah, I had many of these.
Yeah.
Not sure if it's actually the search volume, because on Amazon, even if you don't have a lot of search volume, you can still use Amazon as a landing page and drive people to that landing page. You can find much more people in social media, for example, and show them the product, and they never will be interested in that product, never thought about it. But when they see it, they could be interested, right? And you can still make sales this way. Example is how people do drop shipping and selling on Facebook, while the search volume for the product is very low. You can still make it happen. But the main problem that I had with these products that are not selling retail or not selling Amazon is because I haven't done proper research. It always comes to that. It always comes to not going with your gut feeling about the product, but actually doing the research and getting a lot of feedback from people and see if people get actually excited about the product. If they're not excited about a product, you just need to forget it. But every time I'm trying to do something out of my gut feeling, I fail.
So data rules the roost for you. This, like, everything's about the data, not the gut. Yeah,
exactly. But it's a good feeling. Sometimes you have you really like your idea, right? You're so excited about it that you actually forget that you have to do
due diligence.
Exactly. Yeah. And then this is what happens is you fail.
Yeah. In terms of your biggest win, not necessarily monetary, but what has been your biggest, that you feel is your biggest success on Amazon? It could be the launch of your software. It could have been a Kickstarter that's gone well on Amazon. It could be, this is your biggest seller. But for you, what is your biggest win for your Amazon business so far?
Biggest win is probably creating a new market. Because it's probably the hardest thing to do. Instead of going into a market that is already existing and trying to compete with other products and many people, creating a new market, it's my biggest win. It's something that didn't exist before, and I just created a market for it. That's what I feel most excited about.
Yeah, so you kicked the doors open, you broke ground there.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So that's my biggest achievement, probably, yeah.
And in terms of where do you see your Amazon business in the next 2 years?
Amazon business. I'm prepared from tomorrow, my Amazon business to die. I'm always ready for that to happen. I have multiple accounts, just because I'm thinking about it all the time. But if it fails tomorrow, I still have many other channels to sell because of the nature of the product. So I don't have a long-term vision on Amazon. I have a long vision for the product itself, that even if I go on the street and I show that product to someone who happens to have that problem, they will still buy it out of my hands. So that's my vision, is not a particular platform or marketplace, but actually the product itself.
Makes sense. And in terms of planning an exit for your business, do you have an idea? Are you keeping them for life, or is there going to come a point you're building this value, you're solving these problems, you're using effectively Amazon as a channel, you're protecting yourself by going into other channels to sell? Is your business structured to be selling to liquidate some cash in the next few years, or are you going to be keeping them?
I am actually prepared to sell a lot of my brands. Like they're separate. They're separated by like an entity, like company. They have like dedicated websites and stuff. So they are structured to be sold. So I am thinking about exiting some of these products.
Excellent. So how many brands do you have at the moment?
I have around 104 or 5 brands, different brands.
What brands rather than products?
Yeah, they're all different brands, which end up around 700 products.
Wow, that's incredible. How big's your team? Because obviously we see you as the face. Do you have a large team behind you? Are you doing all this yourself? Or?
We are 16 people actually in that team that work on the Amazon and retail business.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the programmers that work on the e-commerce business, in the software business.
Cool. Talk to me about the software business. We haven't chatted too much about that. You've got RiverClean, right?
Yeah, I have many softwares. The Amazon related is River Cleaner. Mm-hmm. But I've started software, as I told you, 2001.
Yeah.
When I developed my first, it was a clip art website. I was selling clip arts. It was all online, digital product. So the images were, the website was selling images, right? It was vector images, bitmap images, stuff like that. It was all online e-commerce. So after that business, I started another one, which I exited in 2005. And with the money from that exit, I started multiple software companies like that. Eventually, I exited a few of them, and the rest I reinvested in the Amazon business after that. And right now with my wife, we invest in real estate as well. So instead of investing in products and software, we started investing in the real estate as well. But the software business, it's pretty much the same as all other businesses, right? It's solving someone else's problem. It's specific to a niche, and it's solving the problem in a very specific way, different than the others.
So talk to me about networking now. I mean, you've got your group, you've got the event, you do some speaking work. Talk to me about the importance of that, where you see that in how you work that as part of your business.
So networking is very, very important because meeting people, talking to people, open up your eyes about many stuff. As I said before, people have different backgrounds, different approaches on everything. So it's very important to keep contacts with many people all the time. Just talking to them gives you so much. So I started doing these masterminds and meetups, and I talked to many people on Clarity. I talked to over 400 people on the phone in the last few years. And it's very beneficial because you can see the pattern. You can get contacts, you can get friends even. You can have business partners. All that comes from networking and keeping in touch, and also keeps your fire going, because we all have the low moments, right, from time to time. It's easy to solve when you meet a lot of people.
Yeah. Keep that momentum going. Like you said about the cycles, we publish 3 times a week. Sometimes, you know, you have rough times in your business and you don't feel like publishing, but you force yourself to, and then you feel better about it. And then you get another idea because you interview a guest or you meet someone else, and it just keeps things, I suppose, as well, accountability, isn't it? By having, like, you've got the Facebook group, by staying engaged, that keeps you accountable as well to your own business.
Yeah, also because we all work with people, right? We have employees and we have to keep them motivated. We have to keep them engaged. It's not an easy task working with people. So the more people you know, the more people you interact with, the better you understand psychology in general. So keeping contact with many people allows me to understand better the human psychology. And then I'll be able to better interact with my employees and business partners and so on. So life becomes easier when you understand the real behavior, what's behind the actions.
Yeah, the motivation behind the person, what they are about, who they are, that kind of thing. So tell me some of the worst advice you've heard given to sellers. You probably get some of it posted in some of the groups online. What kind of stands out for you?
Well, any advice that comes from a person that just had one success in life will be a bad advice. You can see YouTube is full of young people who teach Amazon and business in general and e-commerce. I know people in their 20s that had some success online and then they start teaching others. It can happen that all of that advice, it's the wrong advice, because it takes more than one success in business so that you can start giving advice to someone, right? It takes a lot of failure and takes years of experience so that you can actually give the right advice to the right person. So the worst advice that you can hear is anything that is very specific, like step-by-step guide that comes from someone like that. It's never working to give someone a specific task, like a checklist, do this, and then there's no other variables and you'll succeed. Everything changes, like from the marketplace to the trends on the market. Everything changes all the time. There is not one specific guide that can give you success.
So on the flip side of that, what advice would you give to advanced Amazon sellers today?
Well, my advice is to always be different. I think that if you've seen from Amazon, from their first FBA meetup that they've done in New York to these days, all they talk about is innovation.
Yeah. So
my advice to everyone is to innovate.
Yeah.
I think that's
be different, go left. Yeah.
Yeah, that has been always the right path, to take in business. Stop reselling others, stuff. Try to help people by innovating.
Yeah. So getting on to your event, you've how many of the conferences you've done now? Because they're in Canada. You had one last July, August time. Is that right?
You talk the Orange Hat Summit?
That's right, the summit. Was that in Canada?
That's in Canada, Montreal. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's in July, August time, wasn't it, last year?
That will be September.
Okay, so that's September coming this year, yeah?
Yes.
And then you're doing your little one-offs as well, where you travel around. I noticed in the group you do smaller masterminds for like smaller groups. Do you want to talk a little bit about the summit and talk about your mastermind groups?
Yeah, so the summit is once a year. We do it in Montreal. It's a small summit, maximum of 100 people. I try to keep all of my groups very small because I feel the interaction that happens in the group is greater when you have smaller groups. So right now I have small groups of 10 people, multiple small groups. They're all working together very hard. They are very interactive on the different topics. And I've met some amazing people from these groups. Like it's incredible when you meet high level sellers to see, how they do stuff. It's incredible. So I love meeting these people, and the summit is on a larger scale, but it's again for very advanced. It's very advanced sellers, more technical stuff. We don't never talk about motivational stuff, and we have plenty of these gurus that are doing actually a great job motivating people, keeping them, informed and stuff. We're more on the technical side, trying to innovate as well, trying to get different approach on how people do stuff on Amazon, specifically ranking and getting reviews, because I feel these are the most important that you can get after you develop the right product, right?
Yeah.
So that's my focus, is on the technical side, and then trying to meet people who are technical as well, so that we can work together.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's kind of, that where can't remember the exact term for it, but you surround yourself with the right people. Like you're one of you're the average of the 5 people you spend most time with. That's your goal, is it? So that when you're creating these, that you're working in smaller groups, more advanced level. So it's not about what you can teach in these groups, it's about what you can learn as well.
Yeah, so basically I'm not selling information to these groups. I'm giving them information. I'm making them aware of something so that we can then work together on solving the problem.
That makes sense. And also, you're coming to London June 1st. We've got you headlining at Seller Sessions Live. Do you want to don't have to give too much detail away, but some of the ideas behind what you're planning to do for your session?
I'm actually going to give everyone a different view on how you can increase your visibility on Amazon, both for organic and for PPC. So I'll give them the awareness again of something that it's all the time in front of their eyes, but they've never seen it. So it's completely logical, and when you realize it, you'll be amazed how you actually miss that. But people don't have the awareness; they just copy what everyone else is doing. So I'm going to give a different approach on how to optimize the listings in a way that we've seen very big results, and people will be able to apply these principles instantly. Like it just takes an hour to apply the changes, and you can start seeing the results from the next day.
Right. That's incredible. That's good. If you was to complete this sentence, Amazon is, what would it be?
It's opportunity, first of all. Yeah. It's an opportunity. It's up to you if you want to take it or not.
Yeah. Excellent. And is there anything you want to add before you go?
Well, I have to repeat myself if I have to do one more sentence, but I tell everyone to try to innovate, make someone else's life easier and no one can beat that. No other business.
Excellent, Ivan. That was your in-depth. Thank you for joining the show. What's the best way people can reach you? Can you give your websites, software, Facebook group details on those for people to reach out?
Yeah, you can look for the Orange Hat group on Facebook, and I'm active all the time in there, so people can message me, get in contact with me, see my work.
And then the software, how do they sign up for trials or, use your software?
Yeah, they can see at rivercleaner.com. They can try the trial. We just introduced a free landing page for everyone. So it's 100% free. So external traffic is very important for Amazon sellers. So we help people to get started with external traffic and coupon distribution for free.
Fantastic. Ivelin, thank you for joining us. Guys, thank you for joining us. Don't forget, you can get tickets for Seller Sessions Live June 1st. Go to sellersessions.com/live. I'll see you again in the next few days. Take care. Thank you, Ivelin.